All right, well today we're gonna do small live edge bowl. Let's see how it turns out. Not super worried about my center. I can always correct that later. That looks about right. I wasn't happy or healthy. I just messed all that up. Inspect that chip I took out. Turns out to be virtually nothing. No matter what I do, I'm still gonna have to sand this spot on the rim, so I just won't worry about it. And we get to start establishing our shape, because we are oh so close. I think I want to move that a hair. I've got a box full of blanks very similar to this in a plastic tote, and we're starting to get mold from it. They've been in there a week and a half. So I gotta hammer these guys out real quick just to make use of it. I'm gonna have to go slow and be real careful of my hands, because if I touch the white green sapwood after I've touched a piece of metal, it'll turn blue. Actually, that's the case for everywhere on this little walnut guy, but the sapwood's the important part. And if I let these blanks sit too long, regardless, the sapwood will turn more this color. I suspect it could be fungal. I'm not 100%. Not terrible. See, yeah, this is what starts to happen to the sapwood. Really upset about that. I don't know if that was me on the lathe, which seems really likely, or just from the chainsaw and throwing the logs around. Time for a tenon. That's it. I don't know how well you can see. Let's zoom in, see what we get. There we are. Can we zoom in ×5? This is our cut. I'm not gonna bother sanding this while it's green, because if I wet sand here and touch this with any of the water, I get brown sawdust embedded in the pores of the white sapwood. And it just detracts from the piece altogether when you do that. So we just give it a nice, good, clean cut while it's green. And let it dry afterward. Now, I'm gonna open the jaws. And because I've touched so much metal, I'm gonna go wash my hands and come back. Now that I've washed my hands, I come back, put this in the lathe. Still like to avoid touching the sapwood. I'm really cautious about this because I've had about 4 or 5 green maple and black walnut pieces end up with blue smudge marks on them from touching them by hand. And I want that. It's a shame. It's all the tannins in the wood reacting and oxidizing with steel. Like my rest is just a mild steel rest. It might be a high carbon steel, but you know, this tool, which is a Glenn Lucas bowl gouge, I believe, it's an M42 steel. It doesn't rub off and leave metal filings in the pores as easily as any old chunk of mild steel. I don't know if you can see on my wrist, but this is instant. As soon as it hits the mild steel, it oxidizes like that. And I mean, that just doesn't look good. So that's what we're avoiding. M2, M42, those are pretty good. I haven't noticed it with carbide. Whatever they make Allen wrenches out of doesn't seem to do it. But if you're using just a regular old high carbon steel, it seems to almost instantly blue the wood. You know what? You guys can't see anything, can you? That's no fun for anybody. Let's see how in the way I get. Fills up the flute pretty fast. All right, camera, you're in my way. Almost down to our pilot hole. My rest is maybe a bit low for that. So generally here is where I switch sides of the lathe. I don't know. Let's focus on it. I call this my spindle gouge. Does a halfway decent job. I believe it is a regular flute, 1/2-inch Sorby bowl gouge. And it's kind of my bread and butter tool. And this is a deep flute, 1/2-inch Sorby bowl gouge. With a slightly asymmetric grind. There we go, that'll show it off. And this is basically my cleanup tool. So if we come over here and look inside, it's pretty rough. We got a lot of tool mark texture, mild tear out. That bowl gouge should clean all that up for us without needing to shear scrape. Oh, I don't like that chunk on the outside of the bowl. That's a shame. Well, whatever. That one's not doing me any favors now, is it? Let me guess, this one's right in the frame. Ta-da! Right in the frame. I should wash my hands for this, but we're not gonna. Instead, we're gonna use this awesome guy. I forget what it's called. What brand? What brand are you? Aha! Veritas thickness caliper. Love it. Springs open, snaps shut, preserves your measurement. Very nice. Now, how thick are we? It's there. So we need to bring the rim down just a bit. And most of the rest of the bowl is pretty relative to that. Except for, of course, the bottom. Oh no. That's just every time I turn the camera on. I just gotta run the Oh! Actually, that was that chunk I was worried about in the very beginning. It's gone. That'll make it blend. So we'll just take the bark stuff off and the tiny layer of cambium, and everything will be happy once that's over. Pretty good. Right around, I don't know, inch down, we start getting a little bit thicker. So our gouge, we actually start very far back. And we lift our handle to tip the cutting edge down just a bit. And we take just a tiny, tiny, tiny cut. Nice, easy push cut. We got a nice big heel to ride, which helps make sure you don't leave any tiny tool marks. Then we get into the bottom, and that time I didn't roll the tool properly because I was thinking about moving the camera. We'll zoom in from where we're at to 5 times zoom. And we'll give it a little bit of a roll. You can see down in the bottom here. No, you can't because I'm in the way. Right down in here is where our cut stopped, so you can kind of see the difference. Maybe a little extra light. But we got a pretty clean wall. I think we could probably slow down here. I'm going to come in and use the nose of this. Generally, I would move back to what should be called the front of the lathe to make these cuts, because it gets my body further over the tool. But we won't worry about that until we're ready to clean up. So we kind of roll, and we can even come in upside down. Just gotta figure out where the edge is. Maybe that edge is peeled too far back to do that with this tool. That's okay. All right. We're going to switch sides of the machine again. While we're here, so that rim I'm not super happy with right now. You can tell it's from bouncing around. See this spot? That was from not being on the heel, but down into the rest of it, down to that very bottom, like 2-inch circle. We're pretty good. I mean, all that'll sand out real quick with some 200 once it's dry, so I'm not gonna worry about it. Doing things like this is why I bought a power sander. All right, and again, we're gonna have to back way up. Just so I don't get too far in the frame. "26 minutes. Mr. Camera, you've added about 10 already. Well, we're stopped. Let's give it a measurement. A little thick there. We grow here. Kind of want to be. I'll hollow that out later because I want that to have a curve. I'll hollow out the back side for that. Now, that tool isn't much of a bottom feeder type. I guess technically no one would consider this a bottom feeder either, but I think it works really well for it. Button's not where it usually is when I'm over here. Okay, we'll give that bottom section a measure. How wide is that? That's much more than I want it to be. All right. Now we can move our rest. This is a 6-inch tall bowl. That's not that big. Oh, this will be a great example. Oh, now I'm trapped against my rest. Solution could be to drop the handle, turn the tool. That's not working this time. Shape does not allow for that. So I guess instead we're gonna scrape this. I don't like that idea either. Maybe we'll try this as a bottom feeder. It's not much of a bottom feeder. Yeah, blade angle is not correct for that. Rough this out. Oofta. That's mean looking. I don't like that. Let's see if we can shear scrape this. Can you guys even see what I'm doing? I can't. At least I can't tell what the camera is seeing. Right now it's probably nothing. Anyway, I'm just cleaning up my little nubbin in the center. Hopefully. I'm just gonna have to be okay with that. I'm not, but I'm just gonna have to be. See, not excited about that little chunk. However, it's the only thing that's gonna take work. So, time to do the bottom. My stage light battery died. The bottom I use the 16-inch. Actually, let's put that on the paint. No, that's too far. Too far. All right, go wash our hands again. Hands are washed. I mean, this is just from sweating on the tool handles and touching the sawdust. So we'll give us a tour. The bottom's not great. I think that scraper needs a fresh burr, but I don't want to do that right now in the middle of the project. Our tool finish isn't bad. That's a flop in the wood. Flop, right? That's a Bodyman's paint term. Anyway, kind of cute. This will sand out nice. It'll look semi-natural. And that'll sand out nice too, because we'll take all this ugliness off. And it'll still look very natural, edgy. Very edgy. All right, time for the big one. So how much bottom do we need? Oh, wrong way. That's how much bottom we have. The pinky versus how much wall we have. So we're gonna make that match. Close our jaws. This has an indentation pattern fits our jaw. And hopefully, ever so hopefully, well, that's not going well for us, is it? Okay, that ought to do. We just tuck that sucker in there. Find our center. Give it a spin. Actually, that's about how far off center we are, but once we get close to back here, we're all right. We're within tolerance. Now, the more we crush this, generally, the closer it gets to center. Not always. Sometimes the further away from center we get. So, we're going to cut our tenon down. And we have to bear in mind that our tenon is our center point. Is way closer to the very bottom of this vessel than where we measured from. Because sometimes I forget that. Can you even see anything? You can't even see anything. That was a waste. Whoop. Now, I think oftentimes it's easier with this. I'm not sure why. Might just be because it's beefier. To come in, angle down, and roll up flat. And get a little cleaner cut. Yeah, I gotta put burrs on after I finish doing this. Oh yeah, there's the color that we're trying to avoid. Doesn't take much, doesn't take long. That is roughly what the rest of the wall is, and I think we're ready to take this out of the way. Wait a second, is that blue? That is blue. Wonder why. Hope it doesn't come all the way through. So this is just a scraper. Very weirdly sharpened one. But that actually has a tendency to take off really nice curls. See, look. Well, I mean, we had terrible tear out here, and it's pretty smooth there. Nice for a dull tool. Can't decide if I want to put in my standard little detail or not. Yeah, that might have been a mistake. That's on the outside. We'll try that from this side one more time. Good enough. A little rub-a-dub-dub. It'll clean up. So this thing, another just scraper with a raised burr, in the shape of a rhombus. I use it a lot on face work. Same way you'd try and use a skew to roll a bead. And if this were green, or sorry, if this wasn't green, that would have come out looking like someone did it with a skew. Still haven't figured out. I need to get a little bit sharper, and I think I'll be able to do that consistently on green wood. All right, so that's that. Now, I'm gonna put glove on. Very careful not to touch too much. Pop that sucker out. Snap that little guy off. And I'll clean that with a hand carving tool, which is pretty simple, but all in all, not terrible. I need fresh burrs for the bottoms, but not the worst.